Thank
before I
you.
forget, um, it doesn't have to be like tonight, but at some point, can you send me the PSD of the new logo? Because I got an idea for. I think it'd be cool if like the morning of the show we do like a little promo graphic describing like what we're going to review, just to get a little
Um,
extra like
I kind of
publicity.
screwed up when I did that, and I saved it to the cloud. And when it does that,
Ah,
it mashes everything uh,
okay,
into one layer, and I didn't know that. So I was like,
I
"Oh, I can
gotcha.
save stuff to the cloud and work on it from computer to computer." No, it doesn't do that. It smashes everything into one layer. I'm like, "You fuckers, man!" So I'm gonna have to go back and like completely
Because
recreate it from scratch.
that's
It's
that
so
makes no sense.
shitty.
That makes no damn sense.
I wish I'd have known that beforehand because I went back to do some more work on it, and I was like, "Why is this all in one layer?"
I was gonna say that's almost as ridiculous as gas prices.
Yeah. Make that Twitter
Gas is up
post.
to almost $7 a gallon in Los Angeles.
Jesus.
It's like 420 something here. Let's see. Let me make a Facebook post. Facebook.
I don't know why I didn't have this tweet ready to go. But yeah, that sucked. I got to go in and completely recreate the whole thing from scratch.
I hate that for you because I know how much of a pain in the ass that is.
God, that thing was like 15 layers, man.
Oh, I bet.
Ugh. I mean, if you want to
Well,
try to take a crack at it, I can tell you what fonts I used.
uh, yeah. I mean, if you want to send them to me,
All right,
then I'll just
I have to
the
look up.
names of them or whatever. I can
Yeah,
download them.
and I think I got them off of defont.com.
Something I refuse to do. I will never pay for a font
Yeah, me neither.
because I think that's stupid.
Yeah, why would they do that though? Because I have Creative Cloud, and why would they do that to where like save it to the cloud and you can work on it at different computers, but you save it to the cloud and it smashes it all into one layer, like, and you can't work on it anymore. Like, what the hell is that about?
That's why I don't trust the cloud.
What's up, Rampage?
Rampage.
That sucked. I was so mad when I went back to work. Remember, I told you I had a few more things I needed to do to it, and I was gonna
Yeah.
put it up. And I went back and I reopened Photoshop and opened it up, and I was like, "What the hell, man!"
Oh my god.
I almost
I
put
would.
my fist through the screen.
Oh, I would be livid. Like I'd have to just shut the computer off and walk away.
So if you're out there and you're a subscribed to Adobe Creative Cloud, just know that if you save your PSD document to the cloud, it will not save layers. It will smash everything into one freaking layer, which makes no sense because you're supposed to be able to work on your stuff on different computers. And,
That's even happened to me in just working like off a computer. Is I save something as a PSD and I don't know if it's some setting that I didn't check or not check, but then I open it and it's flat.
yeah. Why?
I
Why?
don't know.
Why would you do that? That is the worst thing ever.
It's like now in Photoshop, if you want to save as a JPEG, you have to save as a copy,
Yeah.
and it's just an extra step that's completely unnecessary.
Like every time they do an update, they break something. Like, what are you doing? Just leave it alone.
That's why I never update my programs immediately because there's always bugs that they have to fix,
Yeah.
especially with Premiere.
Like when they changed the paint, like they took the paint bucket off of the menu for a while, and I was so mad. I was like, "What the freak are
Like,
you doing?"
just one simple question: why?
Why? Why are
Please
you?
tell me why.
You get used to the way everything runs, and then they do an update and just completely just screw everything up, and I'm just like, "What are you doing? Like, why?"
I feel like they just get bored and they just play around with new stuff. Like, oh, this is different. This is cool. Let's
Yeah.
do that for the newest version. It
Hate it.
wouldn't happen on my watch. I can tell you that.
All right. Well, I got all my tabs open. Everything is turned up, ready to go. And I'm good to go if you are.
Yep, I'm all set.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Greetings, programs, and we are back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
Yeah, we were yelling about Adobe Creative Cloud before the show. So if you're listening to this episode and you're a graphic artist of any kind and you're new to the Adobe CC, do not save your PSD files to the cloud because they will screw it up royally.
This is my thing with the cloud. Like, it's a great idea in theory, but ever since I first heard of it, I've never quite trusted it. Like, I'm old school in that sense that I save stuff to, thumb drives, external drives. I love AirDrop with Macs. Like, it's great if you just want to transfer like a simple graphic. Stuff like that's great. But I can't quite bring myself to trust a cloud. Then you telling me what happened with, our new logo. It's like it just reaffirms my what I've been saying for years about the cloud.
So I made our new logo last week, and I saved the PSD file to the cloud so I could work on computer to computer, on a different computer, and went back in to work on it. And because I saved it to the cloud, it smashed everything into one layer. I'm like, well, there goes like 2 hours worth of work down the drain. Thanks, Adobe. Awesome. Love you.
Shout out to Adobe for that wonderful, wonderful option with the cloud.
But I do have one thing to say. Kenobi!
Okay. I was hoping you'd start off with this. Okay. So I had no idea the trailer was going to drop today.
Me neither.
We got the Entertainment Weekly cover, which is also, I don't know if you know this, but the Entertainment Weekly cover that they released, and it has like an exclusive story about the making of the show. That is going to be the last physical print of Entertainment Weekly. It's going all digital.
I didn't know that.
So I've got to find multiple copies of this because, one, you never know. Ewan McGregor might come to Pensacon or a convention that I go to, and I think that'd be a great thing to sign.
Yeah.
But I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I saw that it had dropped. I almost had to leave my and scream.
Yeah,
because
I had just sat down for a break at work and popped open Twitter, and it immediately right there when I opened it up, it was the Disney Plus, and it said Kenobi trailer, and it just dropped like 3 minutes ago, and I was like, this ain't the trailer. I was thinking maybe it was just like a still or something, like they were teasing the trailer, and as soon as I clicked on it, it played for about 10 seconds, and I stopped. And then I immediately sent a text to you and Wally. I was like, Kenobi.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've said this before on the show, but since I've been a fan of Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi has been my favorite character, like dating back to the Alec Guinness version. When Disney bought Lucasfilm, this has been the project that I've been looking forward to the most. Back when it was originally going to be a movie, when they announced like Rogue One, Solo, and they were going to do all these other spin-off movies. Well, obviously that didn't quite happen, but I think it's going to work much better as a show. And if you haven't watched it, go watch the trailer because It is the best Star Wars trailer I've seen since that original Force Awakens teaser.
Dude, I've watched it like 6 times this
Same.
afternoon. I watched it like 3 or 4 times on the phone, and of course, I get off I text you guys. I went back into Twitter, restarted it. I'm watching it. I get like right to where the oh la 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 la. It like I get the chills, and all of a sudden my Bluetooth headphones go doot doot doot. And I'm like, oh, you son of bitches! Had to change out the headphones. I started it over again, and I watched it like 3 times in a row. What's up, RMS Jackson? Welcome to the chat room. You and
Yeah,
Rampage
welcome,
in the
RMS
chat
Jackson.
room right now.
I can't wait for the show. Like the anticipation was already high enough, but after seeing the trailer, after seeing the photos, I mean, you've got Obi-Wan, you've got 10-year-old Luke, who was looking like little Anakin with his giant goggles.
Yeah.
The Inquisitor, the tease of Vader at the end, which I think I know how Vader is going to be introduced. I bet the Inquisitors go after Obi-Wan. He kills at least one of them. It gets back to Vader that he's alive, and he just said, he pulls a Thanos and says, I'll do it myself, because they're supposed to fight again.
Oh yeah. Staff Sergeant Sketch, welcome to the chat room.
And it's gonna be so good. I cannot wait. I hate that it's only 6 episodes, but I can't get over how good that trailer was.
I know. It's just I can't stop watching. I'm so ready for that TV show. Like that I haven't been this excited about a Star Wars movie, or not movie, but just Star Wars in general. Like I wasn't this hyped about the Mandalorian. I went into that apprehensively. The Mandalorian.
Well, we didn't know anything about the character or what the show was going to entail.
I have not been this excited since the first trailer for The Force Awakens.
Well, in this, like I said, you've got Obi-Wan, you've got Vader, you've got Inquisitors, Tatooine. It takes place in that sweet spot of between episodes 3 and 4. It has all the makings of what I think is going to be the best Star Wars we've seen since Disney bought it, in my personal opinion.
Oh, I guarantee they're not going to screw this up. They can't.
No, because they know the expectations. Like the expectations are astronomical for this ever since it was announced.
And Rampage said he loved the saber into the Disney Plus logo. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Oh, that was great.
And if you notice in the Kenobi, it says Obi-Wan Kenobi. The eye, the very last eye in Kenobi is the Obi-Wan lightsaber. Yeah. I was like, that's so cool.
Just everything from, them using Duel of the Fates, hearing the Vader breath at the end, hearing that little tease of, I think the track is called like Anakin's Dark Deeds or something. It's from the prequels.
Yeah.
I recognized it as soon as I heard it, but this has all the makings of, as I said, the best Star Wars we've seen since Disney bought it.
And he said something. What did he say at the very beginning of the trailer? Like, it gave me chills because he was like, we're done.
The battle's over. We lost.
We lost. And I was just like just chills went down my arm. I was like, dude, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be so good.
Oh, man. If you haven't seen it yet, just go on Twitter or Facebook. I'm pretty sure everybody's sharing it. And that was the thing that surprised me. Not a lot of people were sharing it today. And I was like, I don't think people know this trailer dropped yet.
Oh, I thought we'd get it maybe next week at the earliest. I was like, okay, they released the cover story. They released a few photos, enough to kind of whet our appetite a little bit. Maybe next week or the week after we'll get a trailer. But like, nope, we're gonna drop it today.
Yeah, they just dropped it out of nowhere, and I'm beyond excited. I'm so excited for this show.
Yeah, expect a lot of discussion on that show once it drops.
We might dedicate an entire episode when it comes out, so be prepared.
Definitely do a season recap for sure.
That might be our Patreon exclusive for whenever the last episode drops.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes, so let's see, it drops late May,
so it'll be
probably
July.
Early July.
Yeah,
July.
But yeah, then that dropped today. So if you missed it, go on Twitter or any social media right now. They probably have the trailer on Disney Plus if you have Disney Plus.
Probably.
And, go check it out. But we got a ton of news this week. Are you ready to go into the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Today's news stories were submitted to us by Mr. Jacob Craig. I am the Rampage and Mr. Armez Jackson. So if you have a story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And this first story comes from comicbook.com. Steven Spielberg's Halo TV series involvement detailed. For years and years, Steven Spielberg has been notably attached to produce the Halo adaptation that is finally set to arrive on Paramount Plus later this month. It seemed at some point between the years since it's first announced up until now, it might have been canned. Spielberg really truly stay involved. How involved? According to a new interview, he was involved in just about everything from scripts to showrunners to casting and more. They said they treated it as though it was a legacy project of Steven's, and he godfathered it in terms of reading every script, helping choose showrunners, writer, director, cast, production, design, and visual effects. Every aspect of it he looked at. This is exciting because it looks great already, and to know that Steven Spielberg is behind everything, I'm like, this thing is going to be great because Steven Spielberg just has that magic touch.
To me, he is the greatest director of all time, because you look at so many iconic films that inspired so many filmmakers. He either directed it or he had some role in it.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's the GOAT, in my opinion. So hearing his level of involvement, and I remember, hearing about that years and years ago, back when Halo was supposed to be a movie, that he was going to be involved with it. Mm-hmm. It reaffirms my confidence in it. I think we are really going to start to see a trend of more successful and better video game adaptations.
Oh yeah.
The trailers look great. Everything I've seen from it looks pretty faithful to the video games. So now we really have to do is just wait. I mean, we're only a couple of weeks away from the first episode dropping. So
plus, with how good that TV shows have gotten, their cinema quality at this point, and you don't have
we're in the golden age of TV.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
don't have to do 24 episode seasons. You could do 6, 7, 8 episodes. I think you're going to see a lot more bigger directors and producers that were strictly film are going to start moving into the more long form storytelling of TV shows.
Well, I mean, streaming is just the way to go right now. I mean, you look at what happened with movies after COVID hit. Yeah. They were either delayed or they went to streaming, and it's not going away. You look at Disney got into the streaming game. Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos got into it with Amazon. NBC's in it. Streaming, like it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it will ever fully take over like theatrical releases, because I think those will always be around, but streaming is only going to get bigger.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's just, you can tell better stories in a long form like that. Like, I love seeing Batman movies. Like, I still haven't seen the new Batman movie yet, but I just wonder why they haven't, like, especially like HBO Max with all the good shows that they have. I mean, I understand they want to keep Batman as like the theatrical thing, but imagine how cool like a Batman series would be. Like a long form Batman series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would work fantastic, and I meant to bring that up at the beginning. I did see the new Batman. Very good, but I'll still reiterate what I said last week. It didn't need to be 3 hours long.
Yeah. Well, that's why they need to do long form storytellings. So they can do a 6-hour series.
They are doing a series with Colin Farrell's Penguin character, which will be really cool. But yeah, I think a live action Batman series will be great. But
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, there will be some things that are always going to be theatrical, but I like that Halo has gone to the long form storytelling, because we don't entirely know what the story is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be an adaptation of the original game, but I think we're going to see a lot more long form, storytelling means with different properties. At least I hope so anyway. But our next story comes to us from NintendoEverything.com. The House of the Dead remake launching on April 7th. Forever Entertainment has listed the release date for the upcoming The House of the Dead remake on the Switch, which will launch April 7th, 2022. Pre-orders will be available starting March 31st. The announcement was made with an exclusive trailer, which you can watch in the article, that shows off some of the gruesome gameplay. Features include well-known arcade classic with modern graphics and controls, true to the original gameplay, local two-player multiplayer, multiple endings, photo mode, achievements, armory with unlockable weapons, hordes of the undead monstrosities in a new game mode, and gallery with encountered enemies and bosses. I watched the trailer. It's about what you would expect from an arcade shooter like this. I mean, I don't think it looks bad, but it looks, about what I expected it to. I probably won't play this because it's not really my thing, but looks like it could be fun.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I like the original House of the Dead. I always like to play it in the arcade. I don't know if it's would be something I want to plop down hard-earned dollars for to play it on the Switch, but you never know. I might come around to play it at one of these days for the Switch.
Yeah, it might be one that if I don't have anything else to play and I can get it on sale, then
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I might check it out. But
if I can get it for like $3 or $4.
yeah, but I wouldn't pay like 15 for it.
Yeah, no, nah, it's not worth that much.
Yeah,
the movie was terrible, and I actually saw that in the theater. Damn you, Uwe Boll.
I'm sorry.
And my friend Pete still won't let me live it down to this day because I made him go see that movie with me at the theater, and he's just like, I'm never going to a movie with you again, ever. But this next story comes from NintendoLife.com. Bullfighter Neon switches its cyber cape on Kickstarter with Switch as a stretch goal. Bullfighting is arguably a barbaric practice in the 21st century, and not something that we particularly condone here. Robotic bullfighting, though, now you're talking. On Kickstarter, indie developer Revelo has launched this new project, Bullfighter Neon, a 90s-inspired arcade experience that takes the general gist of bullfighting and adds in robots, lasers, and rad sunglasses for a futuristic spin on the sport. It will feature local co-op multiplayer for up to 2 players with fully customizable difficulty options, whether you're up for some truly retro-style hardships or a more relaxing experience. Now, this looks so weird, I might actually want to play this.
Yeah, the trailer looked interesting. It did remind me of like a 90s arcade game, but just the concept of it is so like out there and one that I would have never thought of for a video game. But I was like, you know what? After watching the trailer, I'd be kind of interested in giving it a shot. I might like it, I might not, but I'd give it a shot.
This is so 90s, it hurts. This looks
my God.
This looks like one of those random like Super Nintendo games that like you just kind of come across at the rental store and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's one that you see in like the end of the aisle as far as like games go. You're like, oh well, this looks kind of cool. Well,
nobody rented this for the weekend, and I can't get
get Mario World or Link to the Past, so
I'll just rent this. It's between this
play
or what was that really bad robot fighting game?
Oh geez,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it was really bad. What was the name of that? Chat room, help us out. Armez Jackson submitted the stories in the chat room. He says, reminded me of Neo Geo Baseball Stars or League Bowling. Yeah, it does have that look to it.
Yeah.
But God, what was the name of that fighting game? That's going to drive me nuts.
We'll be corrected on Twitter tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Wally will correct us. Rise of the Robots. Yeah. Thank you, Rampage. Rise of the Robots.
We go.
God, that
Rise of the Robots.
I get mad thinking about that game. It was so bad. I rented that piece of crap too. That was a wasted weekend.
We should pick a month later on in the year and review nothing but bad games, and you should do that one.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm good.
Man, this comes to us from our favorite site, NintendoLife.com. Nintendo eShop payments suspended in Russia. Various Nintendo eShop users have recently reported that payments via the Russian Nintendo eShop are not being processed, and Nintendo has now confirmed that the Russian eShop has been put into maintenance mode due to the payment service being non-functional at present. At present, it's unclear if Nintendo itself is behind the suspension or if the effective closure of the digital store is due to a third-party payment service provider in the region ceasing to process purchases. The wording of the translated statement would suggest the latter. I mean, we're seeing this with a lot of things due to the ongoing conflict with Russia and Ukraine. So this is no surprise at all.
Well, probably because Russia's ruble has tanked and is worth nothing. So like, I don't think they're going to be able to. Plus, all the sanctions they've had with all the banking stuff, like, they're not going to be able to operate anything in Russia at this point because nobody's going to be able to pay for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the least surprising article that I saw on the Google Doc is that, you look at Netflix isn't working there right now. McDonald's has closed all their locations. There's been several others that I can't think of at this moment, but there's going to be more things are going to cease operations as long as this conflict and this war is going on.
Yeah, and I don't see Nintendo being the type of company that's going to come out and be like, get political and make political statements and be like, we're not going to work with Russia anymore. I think they took this as an opportunity to be like, well, the banking stuff doesn't work, so no eShop stuff in Russia.
Yeah,
kind of being able to just wipe their hands of it and not have to say anything.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This is a cool story. This comes from NintendoLife.com as well. Man who just wanted to play duck hunt with his kids built his own light gun.
This is so awesome.
The retro community has long been working on getting light guns such as the Zapper, the Super Scope, and even Sony-compatible products like the Namco GunCon family of peripherals working on our incompatible modern-day TVs. One such fan, Andrew Sinden, is at the forefront of this effort. His Sinden light gun, which looks freaking awesome, was funded via Kickstarter back in 2019, has shipped over 10,000 units through Indiegogo, and in a recent interview with the Guardian's Lewis Packwood, Sinden talks about the drive behind making his very own gun. Inspired by his love of duck hunt growing up and his desire to play with his kids, he used his background as a software developer to create a code to make modern-day equivalent to the Zapper or similar. Let's see. The light gun is 80, I guess that's pounds, for a basic model, or you can get a recoil-ready version for 135 pounds. It might sound a little steep. The cost of goods and materials over the course of the pandemic has forced the price up, but you can't deny how beautiful these models are. They look exactly like something you pick up in an arcade 20 years ago. He said he has also worked with, he's working on a plug-in and play version, but those are coming later down the line, and he has worked with the Polymega team to create that console's light gun too. This looks like the gun from oh man, what was the name of that game? Was it Time Crisis?
I think so.
Yeah, it looks like the gun from Time Crisis.
Reminds me of a Nerf gun a little bit as far as the end of it. I want to ask this. Are you surprised that something like this hasn't been released already?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, you would think that there would be some company like maybe 8-Bit Dough, or which actually the pronunciation of that is going to come up in a few minutes, but
yeah,
either 8-Bit Dough or who are some of the other companies that make peripherals like Tiger, stuff like that. Like, why haven't they made a light gun that works with modern TVs?
And I don't want to discount the story because the gun looks great. There's a trailer in the article where you can actually see it in action, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But I just, as I was watching it, I was thinking, I'm surprised that we're just now seeing something like this because of how popular Duck Hunt was. Why has there not been a modern version of that?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks really cool, though. This is actually a really, really cool story. One of the coolest stories that we've talked about in a while.
Yeah, and you could use stuff like this, with House of the Dead. Like, this would be the perfect peripheral to have to play that game with.
Yeah, for sure. Like it makes me want one.
Yeah, I know, me too. But I don't know if I could plop down $135 for one.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if they
That is
could
very
get these
true.
things mass produced and you could pick up one for, I don't know, $30, like, oh yeah, that's a definite purchase.
Yeah, I'd pay 40 to 50 would probably be my limit.
Yeah.
But anything like that or below, yeah. I mean, if anything, I'd want it just because I think it'd be a cool just be a cool accessory to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have one.
Let's see. Our next story comes to us from comicbook.com. Cult classic Nintendo 64 game getting re-released on Steam. Within the past few months, a number of popular N64 titles have been making a re-emergence, primarily thanks to the new N64 library tied to Nintendo Switch Online. And while the Switch Online service is only going to keep adding new N64 games over time, one classic will now be coming to PC within the next month. For one reason or another, Hasbro Interactive's iconic platformer Glover was today confirmed to be releasing on PC via Steam next month. Specifically, the new version of the title, which is developed by Pico Interactive, will be released on April 20th, and it will look to improve the visuals that were seen in the original title. For those that may not be familiar with Glover, the game first launched on N64 and PC back in 98, before it later came to PlayStation in 1999. As a whole, Glover was never all that well received by fans or critics, but it stood out as one of the more unique games of the N64 era thanks to its novel playstyle.
Do you remember this game at all?
Yep, I actually played this game
Really?
back on the N64. I actually agree with that last statement. It's not a very great game it's not even a good game.
Then why are
But
they re-releasing it?
I I don't know. I don't know why companies do anything. But you know what?
It
I'm
looks,
gonna
it looks like
I'm
you're
gonna
playing the Hamburger Helper game. Like,
no,
he,
it really is. So the story is you play as this magic glove, and you have to fight your evil twin at the end of the game, because like you're basically like a
oh,
glove
because
of a
glove comes in a
magician.
pair.
Exactly. And one of them turns evil. I can't remember exactly why because it's been so long since I played it. But I was gonna say, you know what? I will actually go back because I've been kind of curious to go back and play this game anyway. I will play it and I will review it next month.
Okay, sounds good. Go
So
for it.
yeah, so it'll be interesting. Like I remember it wasn't that great, but it did have like a unique feel and kind of an intriguing story. So I'll be curious to see how it holds up. But yeah, we'll put that on the calendar for next month. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'll be able to review it that soon in April because I'm getting married a few days
Yeah.
before. But maybe end of April is when I'll do it. But at some point in April, I will review Clover.
But I literally have no recollection of this game at all. So this
It's
is completely new to me.
Let me tell you about Glover. It's a game that almost every time I go into like video game trading post or a retro gaming store in town, I'll see it on the shelf and I'll just kind of chuckle to myself like, oh, I remember that game.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
cool. You'll
yeah, there we
review
go.
it. So we'll see if it holds up or if it's even worse than it used to be.
Yeah.
For this next story, this was sent by I Am the Rampage, and he wrote with this, he said, I've been meaning to comment on what I believe the pronunciation of 8-bit dough is. Since the theme of the company is retro, the 8-bit is reference to classic games, and I believe the dough in the name is pronounced like dough, D-O-E, as in a martial arts school. I think the name is a play on words being old school. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it makes sense in my head. Anyway, I Am the Rampage. And I was thinking also, too, that 8-bit dough refers to Nintendo. Like they just completely took out the first part of the name and just left the last part. It rolls off the tongue easier than saying 8-bit do. That just doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, they cut out the Ninten and left the dough.
And I've heard it pronounced different ways by different, people, podcasters, YouTubers. Nobody knows how to freaking pronounce it. So I think it's just 8-bit dough. And
yeah,
that's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Have we been pronouncing it in a different way?
Sometimes I say it's dough. Sometimes I say do. I want to say it both ways so nobody tells me I'm saying it wrong.
I agree. 8-bit dough does sound better.
Yeah. But the story is from TheVerge.com. 8-Bit Do announces its first Xbox style controller. 8-Bit Do has announced its first controller with the Xbox style layout. There's already an Xbox specific version of 8-Bit Do's excellent Pro 2 controller, but that has the symmetrical stick layout more commonly associated with PlayStation consoles. The ultimate wired controller for Xbox, on the other hand, is more in line with Microsoft's official options. It has the specific buttons you would expect, as well as Pro Controller style back paddle buttons that can be customized through software on Xbox, Windows, Android, and iOS. There are black and white models available. And I will go ahead and say that Xbox has pretty much, as much as I love my PlayStation 4, I played PlayStation 2 back in the day, Xbox just perfected the controller. Like those Xbox 360 controllers, I haven't played on Xbox One or the new Xbox, but man, they always just seem to fit most comfortable, especially the placement of the analog sticks. They're offset. It just fits your hand better.
Xbox 360 specifically is when they really got that formula down of a good controller. Like Xbox, the 360 version specifically is like top 3 controller for me.
Yeah.
My thing with the PlayStation is that I've never been a fan of like the circle and the triangle and the square. Like
Yeah.
they always confuse me. Like, oh, hit the square button. I can never remember where the square button is.
I've been playing PlayStation since 1996. I've been playing my PlayStation 4 for 6 years now. I still don't know where those freaking buttons are. Like when there's a quick time event and it's like press square. Like I gotta look at the controller to figure out which one it is because I still haven't memorized it by now.
I have to hold my controller like almost like flat and just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and I always feel like PlayStation controllers are a little more flimsy. I don't know why. They just feel flimsy to me. Like I'm gonna break it at some point.
But when you're holding an Xbox controller, you're like, man, this is a good quality controller. Yeah. And unless it's like, okay, press the A button. Okay, I know where that is, so I hit it.
Yeah, I still love the Duke controller, the original Xbox controller, the Duke. What me and Wally lovingly refer to as the canned ham, because it felt like you were holding a canned ham in your hands. Like I still love that controller. Even everybody else hated it.
As someone with small hands, I did not care for it.
But that's why I love my my Switch Pro controller so much, because it's set up exactly like an Xbox 360 controller.
Yeah, that would be another good top five controllers.
Yeah, well, we should do that. That's a good one. Yeah, keep that on the back burner.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know if we don't have time to do this month in video game history.
We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we'll save those for next week. Plus, after the review, we've got an email from a listener to get to. So before we go into the review, Derek has shout outs.
Yes, as always, we'd like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. This week, we want to shout out Tyler Watson, Axeblade07, Daniel Salmon, Armez Jackson, Hand Solo, Carlos Longoria, a.k.a. Rampage, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Joey Image, Ron Johnson, Mixmaster, Mike Eveland, Jennifer Eveland, and Mr. Brandon Rutledge. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions to our Patreon, keeping the lights on here at the Nerd Cave Retro Show. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you get early access to our fun commentary tracks like the one we did last month, which was all 90s, featuring Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series, which was actually one of my personal favorite commentary tracks that we've ever done.
Me too.
So definitely go check that out. We definitely got to do another 90s one at some point. Maybe like a full 80s one. Like I like the decades ones just because they spark so many memories.
That commentary we did sent me down such a path of nostalgia for like the next week. Like the entire week, all I wanted to do was just wallow in 90s stuff. Like I started watching X-Files again. Like it was bad.
Yeah, I want to go back and watch like some of the 90s cartoons like Spider-Man, X-Men, do like a full rewatch of those like I did with Gargoyles, because it's just fun to go back and do stuff like that. If you want access to commentary tracks, Every now and then we post polls on asking you, the Patreon subscribers, what you'd like us to review. We do that as well. So if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, just head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro.
And tonight
And of course, real
sorry.
quick, new patrons, be sure to send us your social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, so we can give you a proper shout out.
Oh, and before we do, once again, I want to remind all the patrons, if you got declined last month, make sure you go check Patreon and make sure that your payment stuff is up to date, because Patreon is doing their stupid crap again. So sorry you got to keep doing that, but it's Patreon, so got to go check that stuff every once in a while. But tonight we are talking about... Chip and Dale, Rescue Ranger, Chip and Dale, where there's danger. Oh, such nostalgia. Oh my gosh, tonight we're talking about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Like, were you into this show when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, like I loved all the Disney shows, like Darkwing Duck, Chip and Dale, Tailspin, all of them. That Disney Afternoon collection was great.
Yeah, DuckTales was my absolute favorite. Chip and Dale's was second favorite. I think Darkwing Duck was probably my third favorite, and then coming up last was Tailspin. Now, not to say I didn't like Tailspin, but it was probably my least favorite of those four.
If you swapped Darkwing and Chip and Dale, then that would be my list.
Yeah,
but DuckTales was number one.
Yeah, I think they probably could switch around, but I did love Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I loved that show so much when I was a kid. And to be honest, I never played this game before until I reviewed it for this show. And it's weird because I played DuckTales back in the day. I had a copy of DuckTales, and it was one of my favorite Nintendo games. But for some reason, I never played Chip and Dale. I never played Darkwing Duck. Like, it just felt like I was in that weird tween age, when these shows were popular and when they were being put out. So I felt like I was getting older. And, this came out in, what year did this come out? This came out in the North America on June 9, 1990. I was 13 years old by that point, by the time this was released on NES. So I was probably like, oh, that's kid stuff. I'm not playing no kid stuff NES. I'm going to play some adult games probably at that point. So that's probably why I didn't play this back then.
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through that phase.
Yeah, I was a stupid kid. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is a platform game developed and published by Capcom based on the animated series of the same name. It was originally released in Japan and North America in 1990, came to Europe the next year, and was ported to the Nintendo PlayChoice 10 arcade system. It sold approximately 1.2 million copies worldwide, and it was included in the Disney Afternoon Collection compilation for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One that was released in 2017. This is, like I said, it's a platform game along the lines of pretty much all the other Disney games that Capcom produced, like DuckTales, Mickey Mouse Capade, those type of games. It's actually a single player, or it can be played in two-player cooperative. So, of course, you got Chip and Dale. You can choose. It's weird because it's not open world, but you go through your first level, and then it's semi-open world where you kind of have an overhead map view, and you've got their little airship that they floated around in. You could kind of go wherever you wanted to, like whichever level you wanted to go to next. But you had to go through the levels to get through. I think there's maybe 10 levels throughout the game, but you had your choice of which level you would do it each time. So really the difficulty of the game is not really in the boss fights. I find the boss fights to be relatively easy. When you go into the boss fights in this game, it's really like you pick up like a little rubber ball, and you throw either up or straight up, or You know, depending on what kind of boss it was, you got some bosses that kind of fly around the top of the screen. You got some that, have different uh, phases of things that they do. But for the most part, all you're really doing is throwing a rubber ball at whatever the boss is, and you have to hit them like 5 times. And they're not really that difficult. The difficulty in the game is actually the levels themselves. Like, there's a lot of platforming in this game, and with that comes NES era platforming obstructions, I should say, between the different enemies that you fight. And there's a ton of different enemies in this game. If you watch the cartoon, pretty much everything in the cartoon is in this game, from the bad guys and the henchmen that you have to go through on each level. And of course, it's a Capcom game, so the music's awesome. The graphics were pretty much the best you could get on the Nintendo, because Capcom was always a seal of quality for the Nintendo. They put out probably some of the best, other than Nintendo, they probably put out some of the best looking games for the NES. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
Oh, 100%. If you saw the name Capcom, you knew you were getting quality work from them, because I always took Capcom as a company that took pride in putting out a good quality game.
Yeah, and they had some stinkers here and there, but
every company does.
I would say probably maybe 1 out of every 5 Capcom games was, a dud.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because, of course, I mean, they did the Mega Man series. They did all the Disney stuff. They had Strider. They had Bionic Commando. All those are good games. I mean, some of the Disney ones aren't that great. Mickey Mouse Capade's not that great of a game. Tailspin is questionable, depending on if you like that type of game where it's more of a side-scrolling shooter, like a la like Gradius games like that, like shoot 'em ups. But it's just, I don't know, there wasn't a whole lot to it, so it didn't really hold my attention when I played it. But this game, it's a great platformer, and I don't know why this game isn't held in such high regard as DuckTales is. I mean, don't get me wrong, DuckTales is like way up there on the scale of like being an absolute perfect Nintendo game. This is not far beneath it. I mean, it's hard, it's difficult. The levels are hard, but as far as the structure of the game, I mean, the controls are tight as you can possibly get for a Nintendo game. It's really just a lot of memorization is all it is.
I haven't had a chance to play it, but I did watch some gameplay on YouTube, and I got a little bit of Mario Brothers 2 vibe with having to pick up different objects and throwing them and actually using them as platforms to get to higher platforms so you can progress farther in the game. The thing that, and I know that technology was limited back then, but I would assume, because you can choose as either Chip or Dale, I'm assuming that they both do the exact same thing.
Yeah, there's really no difference in either one.
That would have been something that, if that game were made now, like Chip would have his own abilities, Dale would have his that were exclusive. But given the way NES games were back then, like you look at Mario Brothers 2, there's subtle differences between all the characters, but attacks are essentially the same. But who did you play as, Chip or Dale?
Chip. And that's the thing I was actually going to bring up, and I'm glad you said that, because I don't know why they haven't done a complete remaster like they did with DuckTales of this game, but add in those aspects where you could play as not only Chip or Dale, but you can play as the other,
Monterey
Jack or Gadget, or what was that her name? Gadget?
Yep.
Yeah, and the little fly guy that
Zipper.
Zipper. Like, you could play as all those different characters and go through these levels, because the way the level design is in this game is like, of course you're a chipmunk, you're tiny, so you're going through these levels and everything is huge. Like you go through and like you go through a kitchen and like you have to jump on the handles, like there's water running and you can't get past, so you got to jump on the the handle of the sink to and like jump on it to get it to turn the water off so you can get past the sink and go on to the other places. And like apples are huge. Like you can throw apples in the game, but they're like they're the size of you are. They're huge. And that's like you're running through levels and there's books that entire levels made up of like a bookshelf. And it's really cool and fun. Like you said, you have different objects that you can pick up and throw at the enemies, but a lot of surviving the game is just being able to dodge the enemies and like jump over them and get past them instead of trying to just fight them directly. And I learned that pretty early on, that it's better to just really avoid the enemies than to try to fight them in a straight fight. I mean, there's sometimes you're gonna have to pick up something to throw at something to get through, up through a certain part. But for the most part, I try to just avoid the enemies at all cost.
Well, with platformers like that, you have to develop a certain strategy, because with it also being a side scroller, you don't know quite what's going to be ahead of you if you're playing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So you develop that strategy and then think, okay, do I want to pick a fight with this enemy or do I want to just move on?
Yeah. And then like you get toward later in the game, you're going through the levels and you've got like the henchmen for Fat Cat, the weasels. And like you said, you're a side scroller, with a scrolling screen, but you get to like as the screen rolls and like here comes like right off the edge of the screen is a weasel, and like he's shooting at you and it's like you got to be really fast to like avoid getting hit. So it, like I said, it's a lot of memorization, sometimes blind luck, and if you know the memorization, you can pick up things and throw at them when you get, they're getting near, and you can throw it at them and hit them before they even appear on screen. So it's a lot of memorization to get through it.
Yeah, it looks like a game that I would have a lot of fun with, because I'm a big platformer fan, and I did really like Darkwing Duck, but Chip and Dale seems more like a game that I would have played.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mentioned last week, Darkwing Duck reminded me a little bit more of Mega Man than a traditional platformer. This looks like Mario Brothers 2 or like an old school Mario game. So I would probably like this more than Darkwing Duck, actually. It looks like a lot of fun.
And they did do a sequel to this game in '93, Rescue Rangers 2, and it was on the NES. I don't know why they didn't put a port of this onto the Super Nintendo. It seems like it would have been perfect for that, that graphical style that the Super Nintendo had.
Yeah, there's a long list of games that I could think, why didn't they just put that on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah. Like, this would have been great on the Super Nintendo, because, like I said, Capcom got so much out of that GPU on the NES. Like, they just made games that were gorgeous, that I didn't really see many other games being able to do. Like, you may not be a fan of games like Strider or Bionic Commando, but you can't deny that, especially the Mega Man games, like, you just want to lick the screen. Those games are so beautiful.
Yeah, and it says here that Nintendo Power ranked Rescue Rangers 79th in their 97 list of the top 100 greatest games released for the Nintendo system, saying Capcom lived up to its reputation for superior play control and graphics.
Yeah.
So it really goes back to what we were saying earlier about Capcom. Like, you knew you were getting a certain level of quality.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I just never really heard much about this game. Granted, I would have been about to turn 4 when this game came out, so my knowledge of gaming was still a little limited.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that I didn't hear more about this.
And that's
because I heard
the
of
thing.
DuckTales.
DuckTales was just a force to be reckoned with. DuckTales was, that was the thing Disney threw all their money at the time. There was a DuckTales movie, there was the video game, there was the TV show. It was just, it was marketing around it. There was merchandise. And I kind of feel like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers was just as good as DuckTales, but it kind of got the shaft a little bit.
Well, when you have one singular property that's commanding all the attention and
Mhm.
having all the money put into it, a lot's going to be left by the wayside. Because I would even say that about Darkwing.
Exactly. Like, I said it last week. Like, these games really do deserve that same treatment that DuckTales got, that remaster that they did for the Xbox 360. Like, this game is good. It's one of the better games you can get for the Nintendo, and nobody talks about it. And that's a shame. Like, nobody talks about these games except for DuckTales.
Yeah, it's who knows. Maybe one day they will get the recognition that they deserve.
Maybe with the movie coming out, the Chippendale movie coming out, maybe they'll like maybe Capcom will dip back into the well and be like, "Hey, let's do a remaster of this game because it's a good game."
That would be fun, actually. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I didn't even read the plot for this game. The plot is the Rescue Rangers are going on a mission to retrieve a missing kitten for a girl named Mandy. As Gadget goes on ahead to scout the area, and Monterey Jack is sent to investigate sightings of strange mechanical dogs with Zipper, Chip and Dale proceed through the streets and into a laboratory where they are attacked by a crazed robot. After defeating the robot, Fat Cat appears and reveals what Mandy's kitten was just a distraction so he could kidnap Gadget and force her to work for him. Fortunately, she's able to contact Chip and Dale by building a wireless phone and sending a map to them via carrier pigeon, allowing them to navigate through the treacherous landscape and reach Fat Cat's casino where she is being held. And after they rescue her, Gadget provides the Chipmunks with a rocket that sends them towards Fat Cat hideout so they can defeat him. Pretty
That probably blew people's minds.
yeah.
They're like, wireless phone.
Yeah, pretty in-depth plot for a Disney NES game.
Yeah, I dig it though.
But yeah,
I like when they go into that amount of detail.
but it's so cool. Like just going through this game and the graphics and the music, and it just sent me right back to being 12 years old watching that show. I can still remember what my room looked like, what kind of TV I had, the Nintendo playing these type of games, watching those shows. I wish I would have played this back then, but like I said, I was kind of out of the age range by the time it came out. But man, going back and playing this the last couple of weeks, I played it quite a few times. I really missed out. This is such a good game for the Nintendo, especially if you're like a Mega Man fan or anything Capcom. If you're a Capcom fan, this is one of those games that I think is really important for the Nintendo because as far as a platformer goes, it's pretty solid. I mean, you could do way worse than this game as far as platformers go.
But even though you said you missed out, that's the great thing about the show is we can go back and play the games that we missed out on.
Exactly. That's the whole point of this show.
Yep.
But yeah, I haven't played the sequel. I'd have to find a ROM for it because I think part 2 is like kind of like DuckTales 2, where it's very sought after by collectors and it's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. It's like these games, especially like DuckTales 2 and Rescue Rangers 2, they're going for quite a bit these days.
I want to say DuckTales 2 is on that Disney Afternoon collection.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure they put all these games in that Disney Afternoon collection.
I have to double check. I don't know if Rescue Rangers 2 is on it, but I'm pretty confident DuckTales 2 is.
Let's see the development. It was produced by Takuro Fujiwara, who had previously worked on titles such as Mega Man 2 and Ghosts and Goblins. And yeah, you could pretty much tell like those two influences are in this game, much more so than like DuckTales or things like that. This is very reminiscent of like it plays like Mega Man, but it's kind of got a Ghosts and Goblins vibe where you don't have very many hit points. Like you only get like 2 or 3 hit points and you're done.
So I have to correct myself. Rescue Rangers 2 is on the Disney Afternoon collection.
I might have to go ahead and pick that up then.
It's worth it. You get 6 games for, I don't know if it's still on sale, but I got it for like $5. But it's got DuckTales, Rescue Rangers 1 and 2, DuckTales 2, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. So it's worth it.
But throughout this game, there are different little parts that you go through that, like, to get to the next level. You got to open up this, like a little box or whatever, and there'll be a piece of cheese in there. And then Monterey Jack will come running through the screen and then crash through the wall. Like, that's awesome. I think it would be cool if they did a remake of this game and you could actually play those other characters like Monterey Jack, like eat through the wall or like each character kind of has their own set of skills would be great.
You could even do something where after you beat the game, you can unlock Gadget after
Yeah.
you rescue her, and then you can go back and play through it as her.
That'd be great. Like, this game screams for a remake, and I wish Capcom and Disney would do a remake of this game. I think it deserves it. I don't think it got the clout that it deserved, and it deserved to be, it deserves to be up there with DuckTales. I mean, it's not quite as perfect as DuckTales is, but it deserves to be up there with it.
You sold me on it. I haven't played it, but from what you've told me and from the gameplay I've watched, I would agree.
And as far as on a number scale, 1 to 10, it gets a solid 8.
That I like that. I think that's a perfect number.
And what's your review for next week?
Next week, I will be reviewing Toy Story for the Super Nintendo.
Okay. Awesome.
Game I've wanted to actually talk about for a while, so Disney Month gave us a perfect opportunity for me to do it.
And Tyler Watson gave us a topic the other day for a Disney game. Which one was it?
It was like Mickey's Raceway or some type of racing game.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, but yeah,
because I think we've got. Let me pull up the calendar real quick because we've got 5 Wednesdays in March.
Yeah, you get 3 of them, so you might get to do that game.
Yeah, I think that's how we lined it up. Is that would be my review for the end of the month.
But yeah, that's my review for Chippendale Rescue Rangers. If you've never played it, go play it. It's great. Go pick up that Disney Afternoon Collection, or if you have an NES, go get a copy of it. Or there are other nefarious ways of getting a ROM of the game. But it's well worth it. I loved it. It's a great game.
I'll have to go check it out.
But I think that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. So what you got going on in Derek Diamond's world?
Not too much. Just been kind of enjoying the little hiatus from doing the feature presentation podcast. If you want to go back and still check out the previous episodes, they're still online. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can follow the show on social media at Feature Pres Pod. All the interviews I've done are on YouTube, all the reviews. If you want to go check those out. It'll probably be sometime next month whenever I decide when I'm going to bring the show back. But until then, I'll be doing this show
and also,
every week. So
we want to warn everybody too, next month we might be 1 episode short on the month because Derek is getting married next month. And we don't know which Wednesday we're going to have to take off.
Yeah, it'll either be the one before or the one after. I'm not entirely sure yet. So I figure that out.
And if I can, I might get a special fill-in guest if I can and put an episode in. But if I can't, then we'll be 1 episode short for the month, and we apologize. Just so you guys have that in your head and know we won't be we're not pod fading. We'll just have 1 week where we won't have a show.
Yeah, I mean, stuff pops up every now and then.
But I think that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. And go check out the Open Micers podcast at Open Micers on Twitter and Instagram. Got some bunch of new guests coming up we're booked up on guests for the next 3 months. So go check us out over there at the Open Micers podcast. And like Derek said, go check out the Feature Presentation podcast. It is on hiatus, but if you haven't listened yet, go check it out at Feature Pres Pod on Instagram. And that's going to do it for this week. Let me play our music here. And if you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdkid. Oh, wait, nope, not yet. I have an email I need to read. I completely forgot. So here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me reset this music before I do anything else. Okay, here we go. Hey, guys. I have been listening for some time now, and actually I've went back and listened to all the past episodes. I really enjoy listening to you guys talk about basically my childhood, being a kid in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s. But anyway, I've recently dug out my Super Nintendo and started buying some games for it. I've recently purchased Super Mario All-Stars and went to test it, and all the games played like they should except for Super Mario 3. I have attached a video of what happens. Basically, the game starts up and it shows the title screen, but when you select to start the game, it just goes to a blank screen. I returned the game and got another one, and it has done the exact same thing. Just wanted to get your opinion on this, and haven't been able to find anything out for himself. Thank you guys for what you do. Keep up the good work. Your friend, Denny South. I couldn't get the video wouldn't download, so I couldn't really see what you were talking about, but I've never heard of a problem like this. This might be a problem with your Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I know a lot of them can be a little spotty. Mine is with certain games, so if I had to guess, it's probably a console issue.
Yeah, because I have the same copy of that game too, and mine I've never had a problem trying to play Super Mario 3.
Yeah, same.
Might be something to do. I'm sure there are people that work on Super Nintendos might want to take it to your local retro game store and see if they have anybody that works on them. Just see if there's I don't know, something might be rusty on the the contacts, or go have them check it out. And that would be my advice, because I've never heard of that problem before.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I think that'd be the best option. But do appreciate the email and the kind words.
Send us your emails if you got anything to say, or if you got questions or comments. Send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We're at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro, Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, and then, of course, individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. Go buy some merch. We got t-shirts, we got hats, we got bags, we got everything, stickers, over at ncrmerch.com. And, of course, patreon.com/nerdcaveretro, for as little as $1 a month, get you all the extra episodes we do. Gets you get to participate in everything. You get all kind of cool stuff when you're over at Patreon. If you can't do that, I understand, times are tough. Leave us a review wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
Chip and Dale
Rescue Rangers. Chip and Dale, where there's danger.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
You blew it!
That was a fun episode.
It was. I'm liking the Disney month.
I know. I didn't realize that Chip and Dale was such a fun game, man.
I didn't either until I watched that little bit of gameplay that I did.
Yeah. I watched Arcus do a speed run of it too. And he can beat it in 11 minutes or some shit.
Holy
you're
shit.
Crazy. You're nuts.
I probably couldn't get halfway through the first level in 11 minutes, much less beat the whole thing.
I played it for 2 hours and I got 3 levels in. I was this is, I'm not going to speed run this anytime soon.
Jesus.
But thank you guys for watching and hanging out in the chat room tonight. And we will see you guys next week.
Congrats to Staff Sergeant Sketch. That's awesome that you're doing a stage show of Clue.
I know. That's
really
awesome.
Cool.
If I lived near you, I would go see that. So if you live near Staff Sergeant Sketch and they have a play for Clue, go see it and say hi to him, because he's awesome. And we'll see you guys next week.